Hi everyone, happy Thursday. It is Thursday and I haven't posted a video in probably a month or maybe a few weeks. I have to have the best energy to come and make these videos and good stuff for you, so I don't want to overload you or myself. So anyways, tonight I wanted to talk about the inner knowing that we have inside of us as human beings. I feel like I've had this inner knowing since I was very small. Even when I used to go to church as a child and my parents used to take me, it never really resonated with me because I knew that God wasn't going to be controlling or, punishing, condemning. He wasn't something to be feared, like a daddy in the sky punishing people for their every wrongdoing and that we're coming in as original sinners. Like, I never bought that, even as a little kid. I always knew that I was able to access my creator, whatever you feel like God is, maybe like an inner peace, unconditional love. Whatever you think it is. I don't feel like it would be something that would want to harm you, right? I mean, that seems like a primitive thing that man came up with. That's just my take on it. So, anyways, okay, there's things falling down. That's great. Thank you for being here with me. So, yeah, that was a little scary. No, I'm not scared. So I never really was able to resonate with church or anything like that. So I was always like the black sheep of my family, of course, and did the bad things and the wrong things and had to find out for myself, which is completely okay. Because a lot of us do. That's what we're here for, is to learn about ourselves. That's most all of what we're here for. When you go through things, whether they're good or bad, or you have losses or gains, or good times or bad, it's all about your study of it and your reaction to it and your thought process on it and how you look at it afterwards. And dang it, I wish I would have said this, and why didn't I say that? And so, sorry if I sound like I'm out of breath. This makes me like super nervous and I don't know why. Also, like, there's no quiet place really in here to record. Everything's super loud. And yeah, so this is what I've got. So tonight I want to teach about, or give you the teachings of Conversations with God, an Uncommon Dialogue from Neil Donald Walsh. This is a great book. The series, there's three of them, three books. They absolutely changed my life. If I can just calm my nerves a little bit. They absolutely changed my life, and I'm hoping that it'll change yours. Well, that's what I'm doing this for. So, okay. So what we're talking about tonight is prayer. That prayer is a common or a current state of gratitude and gratefulness, and not a wanting or desperation for something that you don't have. And then also about whether or not God answers your prayers. So these are his inner dialogue with God that I also feel like I have, and maybe I can document someday. So it says, the question is, yet so many people say that their prayers have gone unanswered. And the response is, no prayer, and a prayer is nothing more than a fervent state of what is so, goes unanswered. Every prayer, every thought, every statement, every feeling is creative. To the degree that it is fervently held as truth, to that degree will it be made manifest in your experience. When it is said that a prayer has not been answered, what has actually happened is that the most fervently held thought, word, or feeling has become operative. Yet what you must know, and here is the secret, is that always it is the thought behind the thought, what might be called the sponsoring thought, that is the controlling thought. If you therefore beg and supplicate, there seems a much smaller chance that you will experience what you think you are choosing, because the sponsoring thought behind every supplication is that you do not have now what you wish. So basically, you're saying, when you're praying and you're asking, God for something that you don't have, you're basically saying, I'm in lack, I don't have something, and creation will always agree with you. So whether or not you feel like you're lacking or you feel like you're whole, creation agrees with you. So keep that in mind. The only sponsoring thought which could override this thought is the thought held in faith that God will grant whatever is asked without fail. Some people have such faith, but very few. The process of prayer becomes much easier. When rather than having to believe that God will always say yes to every request, one understands intuitively that the request itself is not necessary. Then the prayer is a prayer of thanksgiving. It is not a request at all, but a statement of gratitude for what is so. And then this question now is, when you say that a prayer is a statement of what is so, are you saying that God does nothing, that everything which happens after a prayer is a result of the prayer's action? If you believe that God is some omnipotent being who hears all prayers, says yes to some, no to others, and maybe, but not now, to the rest, you are mistaken. By what rule of thumb would God decide? This is the response of God, by the way. If you believe that God is the creator and decider of all things in your life, you are mistaken. God is the observer, not the creator, and God stands ready to assist you in living your life, but not in the way you might expect. It is not God's function to create or uncreate these circumstances or conditions of your life. God created you the image and likeness of God. You have created the rest through the power that God has given you. God created the process of life and life itself as you know it. Yet God gave you free choice to do with life as you will. In this sense, your will for you is God's will for you. You are living your life the way you are living your life, and I have no preference in the matter. This is the grand illusion in which you have engaged, that God cares one way or the other what you do. I do not care what you do, and that is hard for you to hear. Yet do you care what your children do when you send them out to play? Is it a matter of consequence to you whether they play tag or hide and seek or pretend? No, it is not, because you know they are perfectly safe. You have placed them in an environment which you consider friendly and very okay. Of course, you will always hope that they do not hurt themselves, and if they do, you'll be right there to help them, heal them, allow them to feel safe again, to be happy again, to go and play again another day. But whether they choose hide and seek or pretend will not matter to you the next day either. You will tell them, of course, which games are dangerous to play. But you cannot stop your children from doing dangerous things, not always, not forever, not in every moment from now until death. It is the wise parent who knows this. Yet the parent never stops caring about the outcome. It is this dichotomy, not caring about the process, but caring deeply about the result, that comes close to describing the dichotomy of God. Yet God, in a sense, does not even care about the outcome, not the ultimate outcome. This is because the ultimate outcome is assured. And this is the second great illusion of man, that the outcome of life is in doubt. It is this doubt about ultimate outcome that has created your greatest enemy, which is fear. For if you doubt outcome, then you must doubt Creator. You must doubt God. And if you doubt God, you must live in fear and guilt all your life. If you doubt God's intentions and God's ability to produce the ultimate result, then how can you ever relax? How can you ever truly find peace? Yet God has full power to match intentions with results. You cannot and will not believe in this, even though you claim that God is all-powerful. And so you have to create in your imagination a power equal to God in order that you may find a way for God's will to be thwarted. And so you have created in your mythology a being you call devil. You have even imagined a God at war with this being, thinking that God solves problems the way you do. Finally, you have actually imagined that God could lose this war. All of this violates everything you say you know about God, but this doesn't matter. You live your illusion and you feel your fear, all out of your decision to doubt God. But what if you made a new decision? And then what would be the result? I tell you this, you would live as the Buddha did, as Jesus did, as every saint you have ever idolized. Yet, as with most of those saints, people would not understand you. And when you tried to explain your sense of peace, your joy in life, your inner ecstasy, they would listen to your words but not hear them. They would try to repeat your words but add to them. They would wonder how you could have gotten what they cannot find, and they would grow jealous. Soon, jealousy would turn to rage, and in their anger, so would try to convince you that it is you who do not understand God. And if they were unsuccessful at tearing you from your joy, they will seek to harm you, so enormous would be their rage. And when you told them that it does not matter, that even death cannot interrupt your joy, nor change your truth, they will surely kill you. Then when they saw the peace with what you accepted death, then when they saw the peace with which you accepted death, they would call you a saint and love you again. For it is the nature of people to love, then destroy, then love again that which they value most. But why? Why do we do this? All human actions are motivated at their deepest level by one of two emotions, the two things that we have in this density, love and fear. In truth, there are only two emotions, the only two words in the language of the soul. These are the opposite ends of the great polarity which I created when I produced the universe and your world as you know it today. Every thought, every human action is based in either love or fear. There is no other human motivation, and all other ideas are but derivatives of these two. They are simply different versions, different twists on the same thing. Think on this deeply, and you will see that it is true. This is what I've called the sponsoring thought. It is either a thought of love or fear. This is the thought behind the thought behind the thought. It is the first thought. It is the prime force. It is the raw energy that drives the engine of human experience. And here is how human behavior produces repeat experience after repeat experience. It is why humans love, then destroy, then love again. Always there is a swing from one emotion to the other. Love sponsors fear, sponsors love, sponsors fear. And then the reason is found in the first lie. The lie which you hold is the truth about God. That God cannot be trusted. That God's love cannot be depended upon, that God's acceptance of you is conditional, that the ultimate outcome is thus in doubt. For if you cannot depend on God's love to always be there, on whose love can you depend? If God retreats and withdraws when you do not perform properly, will not mere mortals also? And so it is the great moment you pledge your highest love and you greet your greatest fear. For the first thing you worry about after saying I love you is whether you'll hear it back. And if you hear it back, then you begin immediately to worry that the love you have just found you will lose. And so all action becomes a reaction, defense against loss, even as you seek to defend yourself against the loss of God. Yet if you knew who you are, that you are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created, you would never fear. For who could reject such wondrous magnificence? Not even God could find fault in such a being. but you do not know who you are, and you think you are a great deal less. And where did you get the idea of how much less than magnificent you are? From the only people whose word you would take on everything. From your mother and your father. These are the people who you love the most. Why would they lie to you? Yet have they not told you that you are too much of this and are not enough of that? Have they not reminded you that you are to be seen and not to be heard? Have they not scolded you in some of the moments of your greatest exuberance? And did they not encourage you to set aside some of your wildest imagining? These are the messages you've received, and though they do not meet the criteria, and thus not messages from God, they might as well have been. For they have come from the gods of your universe, surely enough. It was your parents who taught you that love is conditional. You have felt their conditions many times, and that is this experience you take into your own love relationships. It is also the experience that you bring to me. From this experience, you draw your conclusions about me. Within this framework, you speak your truth. God is a loving God, you say, but if you break his commandments, he will punish you with eternal banishment and everlasting damnation. For have you not experienced the banishment of your own parents? Do you not know the pain of their damnation? How then could you imagine it to be any different of me? You have forgotten what it is like to be loved without condition. You do not remember the experience of the love of God, and so you try to imagine what God's love must be like based on what you see of love in the world. You have projected the role of parent onto God, and thus come up with a God who judges and rewards and punishes based on how good he feels about what you've been up to. But this is a simplistic view of God based on your mythology. It has nothing to do with who I am. Having thus created an entire thought system about God based on human experience rather than spiritual truths, you then create an entire reality around love. It is fear-based reality, rooted in the idea of a fearful, vengeful God. Its very sponsoring thought is wrong. But to deny that thought would be to disrupt your whole theology. And though the new theology, which would replace it, would be truly your salvation, you cannot accept it. Because the idea of a God who is not to be feared, who will not judge, and who has no cause to punish, is simply too magnificent to be embraced within even your grandest notion of who I am and what God is. I could keep reading it forever, but I won't. This is really great stuff, like amazing. If you're ready to open your mind, and whether like you really believe that he's channeling God, or I'm channeling God, or you can channel God, like that's not the point, right? The point is the message of everything. And once we can stop the judgment of ourselves and be more loving towards ourselves, we can have more loving relationships towards each other. And so then I have my own messages from my inner knowing, my inner channel with God that I wrote down. So I wrote down, I am not outside of you. I have always dwelled within. You have the power to silence me or walk in my valleys of peace. The great choice, in parentheses, the illusion of more separation. And then I wrote down, be still and know that I am God. The stillness of your heart, the quietness of your heart is where you'll find God inside. It's not outside of you. You don't have to beg. You don't have to plead. Just be humbly grateful for everything that you have and your experience here. I've had some pretty terrible experiences. I've created some very terrible experiences of my own, and I'm just thankful that I'm here today and I'm able to share this information with you. Thank you so much. Have a great night.